So as Nele pointed out, what I'm going to talk about here is quite scary. So we will talk about grief. Or does this work, or is this another oops moment? No, it's not. Yeah, it worked. I just need to be here. Or we're going to talk about how a botnet pwned our production servers at a point. So let's learn a bit more. First, we'll talk about the event, what happened, and then the 5 phases of grief. Does anyone here know about the 5 phases of grief? Okay, looks like the appropriate person knows about that. And then how we move forward. So let's talk about the event first. Let me check the time to see that I can stay on top. It's 14th of January of 2014. So this is 10 years ago. And at the moment we were working full-time on SourceLair, which is our first startup, and it's an online IDE for web development, pretty much like Code Spaces before Code Spaces. And we had tens of thousands of users in production at the moment. So this, I remember this evening, I was in Cambridge at the moment, I was living there, and I signed into using SSH into one of our production servers, the main application server, to see something. I don't remember what. I mean, I have a total memory blackout from that evening. And I remember I noticed that a few binaries were touched, so a few attributes were changed. And some of our users' private key files, because it's an online IDE, so we were generating private key files for our users so they can clone their repositories and stuff like that. They had been deleted. And then I see a lit named file in the server pointing out that we got pwned. So for anyone that does not know it, lit, the way that I'm writing this here, where I changed some vowels with some letters with numbers, is a hacker-like lingo that you can use to indicate that you're more elite in the hacker world. And pwned means that you got owned, that someone, beat you, let's say. So we find out that someone has hacked into our main production application server, all user data there, everything. And the first thing that I'm thinking is, you gotta be fucking kidding me. This really cannot be true. So we will see how we pass through the 5 phases of grief in this case. And the first one is denial. I mean, the first thing that I'm thinking is that this really cannot be real. It's really important. Or maybe someone made a joke in our team. Let me check again. Chances are slim that this is a joke, and everything started to become more real. And the next phase is anger. And I start to think, I remember one of the first thoughts I was thinking is, why would someone go and do like that and go and build some software that, hacks into the server? Because it wasn't a person, it was a bot. We found out because, we assumed so because of how the files were, the file that was there, what it would mention in there, it was clearly a bot. And we had our servers at Rackspace at the moment, and I remember they would set a default 12-character SSH password for the root user to get into the server. I was really thinking, why wouldn't they make it 16 characters, 32, 64? What the hell? It's random at the end of the day. Why none of us thought about it? Someone putting a bot to brute force into our server. It sounds such a basic thing. I remember I was really, really curious. The next phase is depression. This is where I say, okay, I guess we don't deserve that thing. Okay, it was never meant to be. And I guess I'm the stupidest person in the world. I was thinking I'm kind of smart, I can build software, but turns out I'm a jackass. And at least it was a nice ride. We had a good time. We're gonna shut down, but it was good. And the next phase of grief is what we call bargaining. This is when we started to think, okay, what do we do now? What do we do with, we have been hacked, a bot got into I mean, it couldn't get worse. It was our main application server with all user data there. What are we doing now? How do we handle it? Do we come clean about it? Do we put out some kind of vague statement about what happened? How do we get in touch with the users? This phase, the bargaining phase, I can say that it was the longest one of all the phases that we ran through, because this is where we get to decide what do we do with what happened to us. And the final phase in the 5 stages of grief is what we call the acceptance. This is where you understand, that the past cannot change. I mean, no matter how much you're gonna beat up yourself with what happened, no matter how important it is, you can really not change what happened. And this is where we understood that, we cannot pick our past or change our past, but we can pick our future and what we want to be and how we want to live as professionals in this, in this life. And this is where we decided that we were going to come absolutely clean about what happened. I mean, it was horrible. I mean, the worst thing that would happen is someone stealing that data. I think this was going to be was the next thing that would be worse. And take some actions for the future. So moving forward, it was about time we write a postmortem. How many people here have ever written a postmortem about something that happened? I mean, okay, I forgot this is a DevOps event. So yeah, I guess pretty much everyone here has done that. And this is the part of the postmortem we wrote. So I'm gonna read it because I'm not sure if it's readable. But it's on Tuesday, 14th of January 2014, the main application server of SourceLair got hacked and the intruder gained root access on it. Ugh, I get the chills even now. The security breach was a result of the lack of suspiciousness of the engineering team. I mean, we were 5 people, but we were trying to play it like a company. And as it seems to be, the intruder was a botnet, not a human, and no data was stolen or got corrupted. This was to reach a point where this is the best part of what you have to say, it's already horrible. And yeah, security measures had to be taken, and we were going to take more to ensure 100% security of your personal data. I mean, it's already embarrassing enough. I mean, I read it and I almost blush right now. So we still have this alive, by the way. If you scan this, you're gonna go to our website and see the whole thing written there, because we are not proud about it, but as I said, we were gonna come clean, and 10 years later, it's still up there haunting us. But it's okay. As I said, though, we cannot change our past, but we can pick our future. So moving forward, this is 10 years later, we had that contemplation at some point. So is this a problem that we had our own servers and we had SSH access, so this was able to be hacked by a botnet? Maybe the answer is the cloud to everything. And as we were contemplating this question, I can say with ton of confidence that it really does not matter. In all those cases, it doesn't matter if you pick baremetal, the cloud, Docker, Kubernetes, serverless, whatever. We have, as I'm writing, we've run a full circle. We've used everything you can imagine. We have experimented with many technologies. Also, since we are a consulting company, we've worked with clients that are using all sorts of technologies. And eventually, what matters is understanding what tools you have in place, what are the pros, what are the cons, and have a plan about and a strategy about how you move on. There's no silver bullet that solves everything. I've seen many companies saying, we're going to go to Kubernetes and it's going to solve all of our problems. And usually the companies that have this attitude, they tend to create more problems because they do not understand what they're dealing with. So the most important thing is being conscious and intentional with your choices. Despite that, given that bare metal servers and dedicated servers and all that stuff is not cool these days, I will share some tips about this, because we hear about the cloud and about all these technologies, but we do not hear about managing our own servers, because I don't know, it's we have turned as an industry, but it's still a use case, and companies still use them, and we do use them, and I'll share a few tips about that. So one important thing about having your own servers with SSH access is granting access only through the private network. No one can access these servers from the internet. Super important. In the case of Amazon, this would mean that you would adjust your security groups so only the VPC can have access to these SSH servers. Oops. This was going to be another oops moment, but we saved it at the last minute. And the other thing is that to have access there, you need only one access point, where this is what some people call the bastion server, where you will sign in as an intermediate step so you can get into your SSH servers later on. The other important thing is, I have another oops story to share later on, not ours. You have to use what's called SSH key forwarding. You should not store any private keys in that intermediate server that you use to sign into the other servers. So check it out, it's really cool. And you should disable access to SSH via passwords. This is how we got hacked. A botnet brute forced our server. So only SSH keys to log into your SSH servers makes it pretty much impossible for a botnet or any brute force attack to get through it. And finally, something that's a bit more sophisticated but very useful is set up some sort of notifications. When someone signs into a crucial server or a system of yours, you should get an alert that someone got access to it. I mean, if you're using Cloudflare, you know that when you sign into Cloudflare, an email notification goes into your inbox that, someone got into the account from this IP address. Very useful. A bit reactive, but still useful. So, wrapping up, I'm gonna say that, to our opinion, truth is the only way moving forward. You always come clean about what happens. You get accountable about what you did and your choices, and owning them. This is really, really important. This is how you build trust. And finally, clarity is really the best foundation you can have for your path forward, because clarity is what helps you set a strategy with clear options and steps. So, my name is Paris. As we told before, I have a company called Logic with Anton, is my business partner in the back. We provide DevOps consulting services. You can learn more about us at withlogic.co. And finally, I'm going to plug a new tool that we built in case anyone wants to give it a go. It's called Pulses. You can find it at pulses.dev, and it can help teams replace their daily stand-ups with asynchronous GitHub discussions. So if you're working on GitHub and you want to try a new asynchronous way instead of your stand-ups, just go to pulses.dev or just scan the QR code here, and thank you very much. If you have any questions about how we got pwned or anything, nothing is embarrassing enough as what happened, and I'd love to answer.
I just want.
Yeah.
I have some experience as well. Bare metal is also on service, but one of the things what I did is also not able to SSH with the root account, but that's not in your list.
Not being able to SSH with...
Disable root. SSH.
Okay. So first of all, I had to pick very few things, and yes, this can be another thing, that you cannot sign in with the root account and then you just need to enter the password for the root account. Yes, of course. I could happily replace the email alert with that. To be 100% honest, yes. And I will also add that this is from another friend of mine that told me they're doing this. There's a way now that you can put two-factor authentication also in SSH, but we have not done that. So yeah, no root access for SSH. That's a fact. Yeah.
Did you get any, let's say, comments or actions from your customers?
Yeah, very, very good question. If we got any comments or questions from our customers, the fact is that I do not remember anything very aggressive, and I think because I remember, to be honest, I remember the emotions and not what happened, because I have some sort of a blackout from from that period. Also, it's 10 years ago, but I do remember our users at the moment. I mean, I remember trust. This sounds very ridiculous, but what I remember is a feel of trust. I mean, definitely all those people were a bit, disturbed, like, okay, what the hell? But no, I don't remember anything bad to say. But I remember people feeling trust towards us, and I would say because some of the customers we had then appeared as clients in our next company, Logic, because they knew how we interacted with them, and this is all I can say. Yeah.
How you repaired your servers when they were owned?
Sorry, how we repaired?
Yeah. How you make sure that there is no malicious software?
So first of all, we just threw the server out. We just destroyed it, and we kept the data. So how did this server work? It was a machine on Rackspace, and we had different volumes according to what we needed to do on the storage level with each of these volumes. So we detached these volumes from the machine. So we brought the service down. Okay. So we detached these volumes from the machine after we shut the machine down, and then we just terminated the machine. We destroyed the machine, and we created a new machine, and we applied, if not all, most of the rules that we said here to the new machine, and then we just mounted these volumes to the new machine. So we were pretty sure. Still, it's 10 years ago, so I will remember everything as good as I can recollect it. I remember that after we found this botnet file, it was pretty clear that no data was stolen, and that it was a script that it was trying to delete things based on a name pattern. And this is why I think it deleted some private key files. So I don't remember the whole thing again, but given the file that we found there, that it was saying, you got pwned, from there we inferred what happened, but we were not 100% sure that the system was not infected in any other way. This is why we destroyed the machine. But the volumes we had, they were mounted on non-standard, let's say, directories. So I believe no automatic action would put anything there. And I remember we also scanned it for anything that was that would look peculiar. But this is, I think, as much as I can remember. But feel free.
It was top of the world, like you put your whole production down, or you did it twice?
No. We definitely put the production down because it was that bad at that moment. Because, okay, I guess, yeah, a couple of hours of downtime, because it wasn't more than a couple of hours. It's gonna be okay. Yeah. So we brought the server down, detached the volumes, we destroyed the server, and then created the new server with all those, let's say, better practices, and then mounted the volumes. And I remember us scanning the directories with a script to see if anything weird was there. Yeah, I think this is as much as I can remember regarding that. Any other question? Okay, thank you.